Hello everyone. In this video, I am going to read some part of Amitav Ghosh's novel Gun Island. I am going to read chapter Warnings from the second part of the novel, Venice. This is the conversation between our protagonist Dinanath Dutta and his friend Chinta. I don't know that I can explain it, Chinta. It's just that lots of things have been happening that I can't account for. It's strange feeling, as though I am not in control of what I am doing. It's as if I were fading away, losing my will, my freedom. What has made you feel like this? Tell me. It's lot of little things, Chinta, happening in quick succession, and I feel silly even saying this. But that whole business with the spider was really unsettling. The way it happened in front of me and was just standing there, as though it were looking at me, as if there were some sort of connection between us. And then finding out that it was extremely venomous. I mean, I'm sure I'm making too much of it. I know it has nothing to do with me, that there's perfectly natural scientific explanation. Really? Said Chinta frowning. And what is this natural scientific explanation? Oh, you are as familiar with the explanation as I am, Chinta. I said impatiently. You know, temperatures are rising around the world because of global warming. This means that the habitats of various kinds of animals are also changing. The brown recluse spider is extending its range into places where it wasn't found before, like this part of Italy. Yes, I understand that, said Chinta. But why is the world warming? Is that natural too? Yes, in a sense it is, I said. It's happening because there's more and more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and other greenhouse gases too. And where do the gases come from? Said Chinta. Do they not come from cars and planes and factories that make? She looked around the kitchen, pointing with her forefinger, whistling kettles and electric toasters and espresso machines. Is all this natural too? That we should need these things that nobody needed 100 years ago. Oh, come on, Chinta, I retorted. You know as well as I do that there's long history behind all this. He seized eagerly upon this ecolo. There you are. So you cannot say that this spider's presence here is natural or scientific. It is here because of our history, because of things human beings have done. It is linked to you already. You have a prior connection with that spider, whether you like it or not. So, what are you saying then? I shot back sarcastically. That the spider was brought here by some sort of magic or witchcraft? That it's carrying a message or trying to take possession over me? Chinta smoothed back her long white hair. Didn't you just say, Dino, that you feel yourself fading away? That you are losing your will? So I did. Do you know what that is a symptom of? Maybe depression. You can call it that if you like, but there are other ways of looking at it as well. When I was writing my book about the Inquisition in Venice, I read hundreds of case files that described those symptoms. The cases were adjudicated by inquisitors, and many of them were about magical practices and spirit possession. That may lead you to think that these cases were about ghostly apparitions or things flying about in the sky. But that was not it at all. Almost always the cases were about the loss of will and freedom. A victim thinks that she is being prevailed on to do things she would not normally do of her own will, or someone feels that a spell has been put on them, or that they have been given a potion that has made them fall in love with someone they would not otherwise have cared for. A wife might believe that someone has put a spell on her husband to steal him from her. A son may imagine that someone has bewitched his father so that he is wasting his wealth. A girl is convinced that she has been robbed of her will to the point that she cannot get out of bed or even move her limbs. They are all beset of feeling that inexplicable forces are acting upon them in such a way that they are no longer in control of what happens to them. Most cases of possession are exactly like that. She looked into my eyes and smiled. And are these not your own symptoms? I stared at her in disbelief. Chinta, are you really trying to tell me that I am possessed? That my soul has been stolen? She smiled. No, Dino, no. That is not at all what I am saying. You and I don't live in the world where it is possible to be possessed. In the old sense, these things happened to our ancestors because their will and their sense of their presence in the world were essential to their very survival. To get by, they had to depend on the soil, the weather, animals, neighbors, family, and so on. None of which would yield what they needed just for asking in the manner of, say, a cash machine or a ticket agent at the station. Everything they depended on for their livelihood could fight back and resist, no matter whether it was a spouse or a horse, let alone the wind and the weather. Merely to survive, they needed to assert their presence, or they would have been overwhelmed. They would have become shadows of themselves. That is why possession, the loss of presence, was a matter of such anxiety for them. You and I face no such threat. We live in a world of impersonal systems. We don't have to impose our presence on a cash machine in order to get our money. We don't have to exert our will on our cell phones in order to make them work. In our circumstances, no one needs to assert their presence in order to get by from day to day. And since it is not needed, that sense of presence slowly fades or is lost or forgotten. It's easier to let the system take over. Thank you.